The fork in my hand trembled, but not from weakness, from restraint. Thanksgiving dinner. The table crowded with faces that once meant safety to me, faces now dripping with judgment. My mother's sneer cut first. "You've become a disgrace," she said, loud enough for my son, seated next to me, to hear. Aunt Linda snorted. My brother shook his head, pity painted across his smug mouth. Then my father stood. His voice cracked like a whip across the room. "Get!" The silence that followed wasn't silence at all. It was triumph. Their triumph. They thought they had crushed me. I didn't argue, didn't beg. I simply placed my napkin on the table, looked my father in the eyes, and said one word: "All right." I walked away quietly, my son's small hand in mine. But inside, a storm was already forming. They never knew who I'd become. They never bothered to ask. 10 years ago, when I found myself alone, abandoned by my ex-husband, and mocked by this same family, I promised myself one thing: I would rise. Not out of spite, but out of survival. I worked while others slept. I invested when others doubted. I built companies they couldn't pronounce, let alone understand. By 35, I had built an empire worth $58 million. And here's the cruel irony. The very roof over their heads, the cars they drove, the family trust fund my father bragged about at barbecues, all of it came from me. My silent hand, my money, my name buried deep in contracts they never read. They feasted on my success like parasites, and still, they spat on me. When I tucked my son into bed that night, I made my decision. No tears, no hesitation. Revenge wasn't going to be loud. It was going to be surgical. I opened my laptop. With a few clicks, I revoked access to the accounts I'd set up for them, froze the cards, canceled the automatic payments on the mortgage, the insurance, the cars. By dawn, their financial lifeline, my generosity, was severed. I didn't wait for the phone calls. I booked 2 first-class tickets, one for me, one for my son. Honolulu, my beach house, the one none of them even knew existed. The salt air greeted me like an old friend. Waves crashed, steady and calm, while chaos brewed thousands of miles away. I sipped my coffee on the veranda as the messages flooded in. First, confusion, then anger, then desperation. Bank declined their transactions, mortgages unpaid, cars repossessed, their inheritance vanished like smoke. My father's text came last. "What have you done?" I typed back slowly, deliberately, what I should have done years ago. Days later, the knock came. I knew it would. They found me. I opened the door to see them standing there, pale, desperate, stripped of arrogance. My father's voice cracked, no longer booming, just trembling. "We need to talk." I stepped aside, not to welcome them, but to watch them step into a house they had no claim to. They looked around, realizing the life I'd built, alone, the life they mocked me for chasing. Mom tried to speak, her tone softer now, almost pleading. "You can't just leave us like this." I smiled, calm, controlled. "You left me years ago. I just returned the favor." They begged, promised, tried to wrap it in love, in family, in obligation. But I saw the truth in their eyes. This wasn't about me. It was about what I gave them. I leaned forward, my words sharp as glass. "You called me a disgrace. You threw me out. And yet, every bite of food, every brick in your house, every thread of your clothes was mine. You've been living in my shadow, feeding off me like leeches. But that ends tonight." Silence, heavy, crushing. Then I gave them the final cut. You wanted me gone? Congratulations, I'm gone, and so is everything you thought was yours. They left hollow, carrying nothing but the weight of their own cruelty. And I stayed, on my veranda, watching the waves, feeling lighter than I had in years. My son ran to me, laughing, free of all the tension that haunted our Thanksgivings. He didn't know yet what I had done. One day he would, and he would understand that silence is not weakness, it is precision. I wasn't the disgrace. I was the empire, and empires don't beg. They rise, they rule, and when betrayed, they erase.